Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray, Shaki Hislop and Alejandro Moreno back from his vacation and here with us in the studio, refreshed.
Really?
We've been waiting.
Really?
We've been waiting for a long time here.
We've been missing you. We're kicking off tonight's show by talking about Viktor Gyokeres. We're still waiting for an official announcement of that move to Arsenal. However, there are reports that there have been a major breakthrough in talks this evening. So we're welcoming in Ian Darke to talk more about this. And let's say this does go ahead, Ian. What's your take on the move?
I think it's a good move because Arsenal have been crying out for a goal-scoring number 9. We don't know yet whether Gyokeres can do in England. He did it at Coventry in the Championship. Whether he can do in the Premier League what he's been doing for Sporting Lisbon. But let's face it, what he's been doing for Sporting Lisbon has been pretty sensational over quite a long period now. So Arsenal have looked at it, they've thought about it, and this is the target that they've gone for. So I think the deal's going to happen. I think they're just talking about the terms, the way it's going to be paid, the possible add-ons, that sort of thing, you know, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. So I think Gyokeres is going to be an Arsenal player, and it will be fascinating to see how he goes in the Premier League. Is
that the final piece, Shaka, that Arsenal need to win the title?
It's a much needed, long overdue piece. To Ian's point, we still have to wait to see exactly how Viktor Gyokeres settles into the Premier League. Everything we've seen, certainly at Sporting, suggests, as Ian says, suggests that he should provide goals. The one thing, and to your question about the final piece, that I feel Arsenal have been missing for the last few years is that out-and-out goal scorer, that target man up front. If Gyokeres can do that, it certainly makes Arsenal a whole lot better. Making Arsenal better, while that's good in a vacuum, so has so many other clubs in the Premier League.
A lot of draws last season, Ale. That's what we're looking at here on this graphic. Had they had that striker, that target man up front, could that have changed for them and given them 3 points in some of these games?
Well, yes. Now, we're assuming that in these games they didn't come from behind or they didn't score a late goal in order to tie it up. But I get your point. I understand where you're coming from with this. And what I would say is, if Arsenal's expectations are, and as it should be, to win the Premier League, then what's it going to take for Viktor Gyokeres? What sort of productivity do we need to have from this player in order for Arsenal to be indeed in this title race? Well, you look at Liverpool, and you look at Manchester City, and you look at Mohamed Salah, and you go to Erling Haaland, and you're looking at somewhere around 40 goals a season in all competitions. Now, he's coming from scoring 54 in Sporting. I'm not going to devalue the importance of scoring 54 goals because that's a lot of goals. That is a bunch of goals. Having said that, we need to assume that it's going to be more difficult for him in the Premier League, and that his level of productivity and consistency needs to be at the level of Salah and Erling Haaland. Now, that's historic levels, but that's what it's going to take for Arsenal to turn those games that you mentioned, those draws, into wins, and to turn those single points into 3 points, and to actually be there in the end where they think they should be. That's a big question. It's also a little bit concerning for me. All we know from Viktor Gyokeres, if we're really honest with ourselves, because none of us are sitting back watching the Portuguese league every weekend. We're not doing it, okay? And that's the truth, right? And anybody that tells you, no, I'm all about it. Oh, I know what's happening between Sporting and Gil Vicente. Yeah, no, you don't. So what we know is what we have seen in Champions League from Viktor Gyokeres. And we have the lasting image of how silly he made Manchester City look. And that was impressive. But then you ask yourself the question, well, who didn't make Manchester City look silly last season defensively? And so if that's the standard, then we have to be careful that that's the expectation we have for this player, because it is also true that in the defining moments of Champions League competition for Sporting, he was not first choice. Konrad Harder was. Again, since I'm not watching the Portuguese league every weekend, I cannot tell you how good Konrad Harder is or isn't. But I can tell you that if my guy, Viktor Gyokeres, is the difference maker, then how come he's not starting that first game against Borussia Dortmund in the defining stages of this competition? And it was like that for the last few matches in the group phase as well. Or not group phase, league phase. Maybe some injury concerns, maybe some issues here and there. I'm not going to speculate. But it would be nice to have the conversation. I don't have access to Rui Borges, the manager of Sporting, and ask him the question, how come he wasn't playing in these games? Because that is something that would tell us a lot about Viktor Gyokeres and what his potential actually is with Arsenal.
What do you think, Ian, on him being that missing piece for Arsenal?
Well, I think he's got to have a better goal-scoring return, hasn't he? I think you put up some figures there with Havertz as the leading goal scorer, but I think he was only single figures in the Premier League. So Arsenal had the best defence in the Premier League last season, and yet they finished 10 points behind Liverpool, who won the championship. So it's easy to see where the problems were. I mean, we just don't know. It is a question mark, as Xhaka and Ali are saying. It's a question mark about whether he's going to be able to do it in the Premier League. Not everybody can, as we've seen from Darwin Núñez, who's recently come from Portugal. But my guess is, having seen a bit of Gyokeres, he's had a long apprenticeship, you know, as a player. He's not an overnight sensation. He's learned his trade at a lot of smaller clubs. He knows about the physicality in English football because he played in the Championship for Coventry. I think he's going to come off, and I think Arsenal have done their homework, and they think he's going to come off. And you look at the kind of team they're going to have out there. They're going to have Madueke, who could be dangerous from either wing, although a little inconsistent. Saka, Gyokeres, Zubimendi, Odegaard and Rice in midfield. It looks a pretty tasty outfit, doesn't it, if the Gyokeres signing works?
Yeah, let's obviously, Ian, you've just touched there on those transfers. Let's talk about Arsenal's transfer business so far. It sounds as though you think that they could be the extra missing pieces as well as Gyokeres for this season.
Well, they've got a big gap to bridge, I think, to Liverpool, who, as you all know, have spent very big themselves. So, you know, they're not complacent. They've restocked pretty spectacularly, as have Manchester City and Chelsea. So it's been a mad, crazy summer in the transfer market with over £1 billion being spent. I think we're going to have a heck of a title race this season. But, you know, Arsenal have been runners-up 3 times running. They're going to be in that title race. Whether they can win it, well, we're going to have to wait and see for that.
Yeah, you wonder how confident Mikel Arteta himself is about whether Arsenal can win the title this season, because we've been hearing from the Arsenal manager on how many clubs are actually in the title race this season. And this is what he had to say. The thing is, there are another 6, 7, 8 clubs in the league that have the right ingredients to win, and there is only going to be one winner. So we have to focus a lot on the things that we can control, that we can do to achieve what we want at the end of the season. 9 clubs have what it takes. Is he already diluting expectations for Arsenal here?
Either that or he's contradicting expectations on everybody else. Let's be honest. And while Mikel Arteta is free to say whatever he wants and how he feels, and clearly, as a manager, you don't downplay the threat of anybody else. You take nobody for granted. That's just kind of standard. And Arteta says what he says, but I am fairly confident. You poll 100 football fans, 100 people like us who give opinions, it's going to come down to 3 clubs: Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City. There may be a couple who may offer Chelsea, but I'm not sure how serious they'll be in that. So the truth is, it's one of 3, regardless of what Mikel Arteta may feel about the threat of Brighton and Nottingham Forest.
Why is he saying this, LA?
Lies! Lies upon lies. Lies, I tell you. It's deflecting attention away from the expectations that are going to be in Arsenal, whether he likes it or not. Pay attention to Aston Villa. Pay attention to Brighton. What? Look. Realistically speaking, as Xhaka just mentioned, this is indeed a 3-horse race. I saw a segment from the show while I was on vacation, because that's my commitment to ESPN FC. I saw a segment in which I believe Mark Ogden was trying to push the idea that this would be the closest or most competitive title race in years, because there would be 3 and at least 4 teams. And even squeezing 4 into that conversation was difficult to do for Mark. In fact, I think that Dan, who was hosting the show that day, called him a liar. He said, I don't believe you. You were forced to write this by the editors of your whatever, the website, right? And that's us trying to squeeze, or not us, Mark, squeeze 4 teams into this conversation. 9? Are you joking?
I would love to know who he thinks the 9 are.
Well, we just put a list of 10 of the odds to win, and that included Aston Villa, Brighton, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, and I'm just saying,
goodness me,
it's lies. It's Captain Deflecto. It's pay attention to those guys. Don't pay attention to us. It's not. Don't put this sort of pressure already on us.
Is that what it is, Ian? Is it Arteta?
Manchester United in that 10?
Well, I'm just saying.
Goodness
but
me.
does this tell us, Ian, that Arteta's already feeling the pressure with the money that's spent and potentially could be spent if Gyokeres comes in? Is this showing us that he's already feeling the pressure?
Well, I mean, yeah, they're trying to lower expectations, but you can't do that at a club like Arsenal because the expectations, and they have been since he took over, are absolutely huge. I'm trying to think, though, who the 9 could be. Like the guys, I mean, we haven't mentioned, what about Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United, the notable flops from last season. You probably have to think about Crystal Palace, who, if they kept, imagine that they kept Mateta, Eze, Gahi and Adam Wharton, if there's going to be a surprise package, not in the title race, but to go very well next season, it might be them.
So Shaka just said 3, maybe 4. Who really is for you, Ian, in the title race next season?
I think, obviously, Liverpool, who'll be favourites, and rightly so. Manchester City will bounce back, not least because they've got Rodri and the new additions, and I think they've got the eye of the tiger about restating their case. Obviously, Arsenal as well. And I would include Chelsea, because if they've won this World Club Championship in the summer and made themselves £80 million or whatever it was, if they're not title contenders, and they're trying to tell us already that maybe they're not, well, was it only about the money? If they're the World Club champions, they're in the English title race.
How dare you think that it was just about the money? How could it be that it's just about the money?
Okay,
no comment.
You've been away. We've been waiting for your take on Ugo Ekitike to Liverpool. Obviously, you've seen Ugo Ekitike very closely, covering the Bundesliga as closely as you do LA. What do you think of this move?
Okay, as we do.
As we all do. Correct.
And so I like the variety that he gives a team like Liverpool. He's a player that can be flexible, that can come from wide areas, can work underneath, can be a striker as well, works really well with other strikers around him. Him and Marmoush worked really well at Eintracht Frankfurt. So I can imagine that I can see a scenario by which he can get around players in Liverpool and understand what his role is. Seems to be very good at figuring out, okay, where can I be most dangerous? How can I combine with my teammates? He is a part of a totality of a group. He's not just one individual player, and he proved that time and time again at Eintracht Frankfurt, and I think he would do that really well at Liverpool.
Do you like this move, Ian?
Yeah, I've watched Ekitike, probably not as much as Ali, because I don't see the Bundesliga every single week, but I have seen him playing in Europe, and I like the look of him. I think, you never want to make the comparison or put the pressure under a player of saying he's like Thierry Henry. But there's something about him that does remind you of Thierry Henry. He's lithe, he's quick, and Ali's just described his qualities. He can score with both feet. I mean, he was at Paris Saint-Germain at the same time as Messi and the superstars, Mbappe, etc. Couldn't get in the team there, but he's blossoming. He's graduating all the time. Liverpool's recruitment campaign and the way that they assess players is very, very good. They're not making that many mistakes in the market. They obviously wanted Alexander Isak, hence the cheeky inquiry to Newcastle. They didn't get too much encouragement with that phone call, so they quickly switched Ekitike, who is obviously delighted and doing cartwheels with the move. So, I mean, it's an expensive move, but he's only 23. So you're talking about a decade, possibly, of potential from Ekitike. I think he'll come off.
You're saying that about Isak, though, Ian. There are still reports out there that they could still try for Alexander Isak, even with the players they've got. What do you think of those?
Well, well, we don't know what Isak himself is thinking. Intriguingly, Newcastle left him at home and they played that friendly up in Scotland the other day. And we were told, we were given reasons by Eddie Howe that didn't sound that convincing. So, you know, there's a bit of smoke. What does he want? What does his agent want? I suppose, you know, it's football. It could still happen. But where would it leave Ekitike if Isak walks through the door? And where would it leave several other players who now have really got to fight for their place at Liverpool, even the people who won the title for them last season? Is there a place, for instance, for Dominic Szoboszlai in the midfield with Wirtz arriving? So the competition there would be through the roof if Isak arrived as well.
Why were you shaking your head?
He's not going. Isak's not going anywhere. I've decided.
Oh, you've decided?
I've decided.
Have you talked to some people?
I've spoken to a few people.
Yeah?
None of them have anything to do with Newcastle, but and I said a couple of days ago, I think Isak moving was depending on Ekitike coming to St. James's Park. Once Ekitike said he's only going to Liverpool, that put an end to that. That put an end to
the Liverpool move. What about a move to Saudi Arabia, where they could meet any very high wage demands that the player may have?
Well, then it will take quite a healthy buyout from a Newcastle perspective. Listen, given what Alexander Isak means to that football club right now, both in terms of playing and in terms of his personality, his standing within the city, I do not see how Newcastle let Alexander Isak go right now, and unless there's a ready-made replacement, and I don't think there is. I think with the sale of Ekitike, with the sale of Gyokeres, I'm not sure that there's a replacement to be had in this transfer window. So for me, it's any potential move for Alexander Isak is out this window.
Isak and Ekitike in the same team for Liverpool.
No, it's not happening, Kay. I keep telling you that.
How would it work if it were to happen?
Well, I just said that Ekitike does really well in playing together with another striker. However, it would demand a change in formation in terms of what Liverpool had been doing last season under Arne Slot, and I don't think that's going to happen. And so it would feel as if though, in terms of leading the attack, it would be Ekitike or Isak, not both of them. And the only option that I would figure out if I were Arne Slot is that I would send out Ekitike out to the left or Isak to the left and the other down the middle. Maybe that's the way it works for them. Maybe that's the way they squeeze it. But I think you're trying to squeeze too many pieces, and you're changing a Liverpool team that was very successful last season. I understand when there's a talent like Florian Wirtz out there that you go and get him. I understand that you get Ekitike or Isak. But when you start getting the two of them, and you're trying to squeeze all these pieces together, what are you sacrificing in order to squeeze these pieces? If I'm Arne Slot, I don't feel like I have to chase it. This was a really successful team last season. The arrival of the few players they've already signed, I think, should be enough not only for them to repeat, but then put themselves in a better position in Europe as well.
Yeah, it's hard to look past them with those transfer signings, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, it is, but I think there's a little bit of a question mark in defence, if there is a question mark. They've lost Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid. What effect might that have with his laser-guided passing? Gyokeres on the other side, if they've got from Bournemouth, and with a new left-back, you assume, ahead of Andy Robertson. Both of those like to fly forward. That leaves a lot of pressure on Van Dijk and Konate behind them there. And I think they're a bit short in that central defensive area, you know, at the moment, because Kwanzaa's gone to Germany. Joe Gomez is injury prone, so they better hope nothing happens to Konate or Van Dijk, or they better go out and buy Gehi. I think he's a great buy for them. His contract's up at Crystal Palace, England defender, one of the best, I think, in the Premier League. And I think that's the move I could see Liverpool making.
Shaka continues to press refresh on our transfer talk page over on ESPN.com, just ensuring that Alexander Isak is sticking around at Newcastle. You can keep up to date yourselves by visiting our website. And of course, all the transfer talk and a lot more is over on our YouTube channel, ESPN FC. Be sure to click subscribe while you're there if you haven't already. There he is.
Hey, hard-working Shaka Hislop.
La Liga is on the way. These are the title odds. Real Madrid are favourites according to ESPN Bet. Don't know if they watched them last season, but it is a whole fresh start in their eyes, and this is the title odds right now with Real Madrid's favourite to win it. Ian Dark still with us. We're hoping to hear from Sid Lowe a little later on. He's in a car journey somewhere. If he does get home in time, he will be joining us. But who's your favourite, Ian?
Oh, it's a flip of a coin. They seem to alternate, don't they? That one year Barcelona wins it, the next year Real Madrid wins it. That's the way it's been going in recent seasons. Of course, you know, what will be the effect of Xabi Alonso with his more disciplined tactical approach arriving at Real Madrid? You would think that would bring on an improvement, wouldn't you? But the problems don't disappear overnight. I think you saw that at the Club World Championship when Paris Saint-Germain took them to the cleaners 4-0. So still things to sort out. They're going to have a new look defence this season. They're not going to have Bellingham until October because of his shoulder operation. But Barcelona are a very, very good side. We saw that last season. And, you know, they beat Real Madrid 4 times last season. So, I mean, I wouldn't like to call it really at this stage in the middle of the summer. But I suppose if you put me in a corner, just on the, it seems to flip over every year. Maybe just the bookmakers have got it right. Real Madrid's slight favourites. It's weird, isn't it? Mbappe got 43 goals, 44 goals, whatever it was. And he's regarded as a bit of a flop.
Yeah, we got there in the end for me, and he said Real Madrid. We went around the houses, but we got there in the end. Tell us, Ale, who's your favourite?
Not easy in the summer.
Okay. I have no idea how you make Real Madrid the favourites ahead of Barcelona going into the season, given something that Ian just mentioned there. They played the amount of times that they played last season, and none of those games were really all that close. They weren't. Real Madrid were not competitive against Barcelona last season. And so then we must ask ourselves a question. Has Real Madrid gotten significantly better over the last couple of months? I don't think so. Have Barcelona gotten significantly worse to bridge that gap? No. So going into the season, knowing what we know about both teams, logic would suggest, it may not be this way, but logic would suggest that Barcelona would be the favorites and Real Madrid are the ones trying to play catch-up.
Shaka?
I'm with Ali in that I think Barcelona, certainly as we sit right now, are favourites. And while Ian is absolutely right, Real Madrid have a new look defence and certainly have needed retooling in that department. Some of the issues, particularly up front in Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, still exist. They're still there. How do you manage that front two, a front two who don't come back and offer anything defensively? That was the undoing of Carlo Ancelotti. That'll be the big test for Xabi Alonso. And right now, I can't see a solution to it. Maybe Xabi Alonso does and proves me wrong. But until he does, I just feel that Barcelona, I think, have gotten better. They need to regress for me if Real Madrid are to be favourites.
We've got somebody else joining the party. Oh. Sid Lowe has made it.
All right. Yes. Professional.
There he is. Just an easy one for you then, Sid. Who's going to win La Liga?
Blimey, straight off the bat. I mean, look, I think the starting point has to be what we saw last season. Of course, that makes Barcelona favourites because they won the league, because they were the better side, because Real Madrid didn't resolve some of those problems that, of course, now Xabi Alonso has to try to resolve. And you know, just caught the very end of Shaq talking about the fit with Vinicius and Mbappe, and that's a genuine problem. They still don't have that central midfielder, although the structure is different this year. I think the anticipation is that Real Madrid will improve, and therefore will push Barcelona maybe a little bit harder than they did last year. And of course, they weren't that far off last season. But I think our starting point has to be that given where Barcelona have come from, given the way that they've played, And given that they're not really losing anyone from that team, although there might be one or two question marks about one or two of the positions, I think we have to start with the premise that Barcelona are favourites.
Are you surprised then to see Real Madrid favourites with the ESPN bet, Sid?
Not entirely, because as I say, I think you look at Real Madrid last season, and I think you can identify a handful of problems. I think it's logical enough to believe that things will be better in Kylian Mbappe's second season, not least, of course, because his figures were so much better in the second half of the year than they've been in the first. So I suppose it's easy to believe that the second half of the season will be continued into this new year and that he will continue to play well. I think it's easy enough to imagine that Xabi Alonso will change things and will get things right. And I think during the Club World Cup, we saw some of that. Not all of it, but we saw some of that until the PSG game. And it's true that they were taken apart by PSG, but there were certain signs of evolution and improvement there. And so it's not a huge surprise, because I think we are looking at two teams that will both be very strong. And of course, we probably shouldn't have this discussion without mentioning Atletico Madrid. Now, I know that Atletico Madrid tend to frustrate us. I know that we tend to go into seasons and say, this is the one, this is a season which Atletico Madrid have spent well, they've brought good players, and they'll really compete. And actually, for quite a lot of last season, until around about late February, early March, they did. So I think we probably have to factor them in as well. But if we're going to start from what we know, rather than what we project to be possible, then I think we have to start with Barcelona. Now, you never know how it might have fallen. You never know if he might have had two brilliant months. I think really and truly it's possibly better to look at this from a human point of view and look at it from his point of view. And the frustration for him, this is a player who's in a position where he needs to prove something, who's still young enough that he's got time on his side, but I think probably feels like he's in a little bit of a hurry, who's seen another player overtake him. So I think the impact for Endrick is really, really big. And then there's another element to put into this equation here, which is whether Endrick would have even been there, whether he had started to become open to the possibility of a loan move somewhere. And of course, this would ruin any chances he had of doing that as well.
Sid Wright, it's not too much of an impact, LA?
No impact at all. I'll take it even a step further than Sid. Sid is a nice guy. I, on the other hand, not so much. No impact at all. And the reason I say that is because, did you even notice that Endrick wasn't playing the Club World Cup? Was anybody asking the question, wait, where is Endrick? No, he wasn't even a talking point. He was not. It isn't as if this team is desperate for this kid to play. Now, we can make players look as good as we want to in a highlight package. And if you just took the 3 goals from Endrick and you look at that kind of talent, you go, man, he is something special. But when we think of Endrick and his lack of success last season, it's not because he didn't give us glimpses. It's because there was no consistency whatsoever. And he never, ever gained the trust of Carlo Ancelotti, to the point to where others were preferred to him playing in that position. Now, the most valid point that Sid has made, and this doesn't happen often, or often enough, is the fact that Gonzalo Garcia has now come to the forefront. And he was their best player in this past tournament. The team was better with him on the field, because at least you had at least one guy defending out of that front line and forcing the press that Xabi Alonso wants from his attacking players, and forcing the second and third pass to be missed by opposing teams, so that then Real Madrid would actually get possession of the ball higher up the field. You know who doesn't do that either? Endrick doesn't do that either. He doesn't press. Mbappe doesn't press. Vini doesn't press. If I were Xabi Alonso, I would find a place for Gonzalo Garcia, but that place is non-existent because of the fact that you have Mbappe and Vini Jr. So guess who's not playing at all? Who's fourth in that list? Is Endrick, if that. Fourth, if that. So no impact whatsoever.
It will be a Barcelona player. Wanted to get your take on this. That Sports saying that Rashford is ready for the tour. But will he be able to play? Will he be registered in time, Sid?
Well, at the moment, he can't be. But I think one of the things that's important to point out now is the date is, what are we, 23rd of July? I must confess, I honestly don't know the date. I think it's the 22nd or the 23rd of July. There's 22nd, thank you. Actually, it's just past midnight, so it's now the 23rd, so I'm going to claim that one for myself there. Yeah. I mean, literally, just now. I think, look, at the moment he can't be registered, but it's early. It's more than a month to go till the end of the window. Admittedly, it's less than a month to go till the start of the season. So at the moment, they can't do so. There are a number of things that can change that financial situation for Barcelona. One of them is the arrival of the money from the VIP boxes. The other, of course, is the departure of other players. And then there's the question mark over what they do with Marc-Andre Ter Stegen. Now, if Ter Stegen was to go, that releases a huge amount of money into the financial fair play pot. If he isn't to go and he goes under the knife and has this operation, that would release, according to Federation rules, the possibility of them using 80% of his salary to pay for another player. Now, it's important to note that it's to pay for another player. So it could go to one player. It needn't necessarily go to Rashford, and it might not go to Rashford because, of course, they've also signed a goalkeeper in Joan Garcia, who also, at the moment, cannot be registered. And so the short answer to your question is he going to be registered now? No. Will he be registered by the end of the window? Well, we've been here before. And so we can be optimistic about it. And personally, I suspect this summer will be slightly different in terms of the management of this. This is not a huge signing in terms of the impact it makes in the transfer fee. So that helps, of course, although the salary is reasonably high. So I think maybe not by the start of the season, but I think by the end of the transfer window, so in other words, when August turns into September, I think Rashford will be available for Barcelona.
What are your thoughts on this move, Ian?
Well, they're going to need some financial gymnastics, as Sid has explained. They always seem to be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat somewhere. We had the business with Dani Olmo and other players in previous seasons as well. It's a little bit of an annual farce now with Barcelona that this goes on, but you have to guess that in the end, Rashford will become available to play, whether it's 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, not quite sure. Does he get in the team? Probably not, does he? With Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, Rafinha playing behind Lewandowski. That's what you think the lineup would be. But I guess it does open the option of Rafinha maybe moving to number 10 and Rashford playing out on the left-hand side. Occasionally, it's another option. I mean, from his point of view, you know, he did okay at Aston Villa, but there are still a lot of question marks and a lot of baggage and a lot of, well, discussion about what Rashford is and what he can still do. This is a great move for him. Whether it's a great move for Barcelona, we're about to find out.
Ali, your take on it?
Well, first of all, if whoever's putting this graphic, have a word with yourself. Marcus Rashford is not starting for Barcelona. He's not. Barcelona don't need Marcus Rashford. Now, every part of my body, every cell in my body, when all this conversation came about Marcus Rashford, said, oh, no. You don't need this if you're Barcelona. You don't need this if you're Hansi Flick. But I can be positive. Oh. And so I will be. If they get nothing from Marcus Rashford, they're still going to be productive. They're still going to score goals consistently. This team will continue to score goals, regardless of what they get or don't get from Marcus Rashford. If they get anything from Marcus Rashford, if they get anything near his best, he gives them something different. He gives them a change of pace that can trouble defenders in La Liga. He gives them a more vertical player, a player that can get out in transition, which we saw with Hansi Flick is something that Barcelona can do very well. And how does he get close to his best? And this is when I really have to be positive and optimistic. He knows he's coming to the end of the big-time opportunities for him. This is it. It's Barcelona. And he's away from the pressures, I suppose, or the scrutiny of and what had become a toxic environment in the Premier League for him, especially at Manchester United. And he's going to a place in which, like I said before, whether he scores or doesn't score, it's not going to really matter. Barcelona will continue to score goals. So the expectations will not be on him. So if you get any productivity from him, then it's a gain for Barcelona. From that point of view, it makes sense. Regardless, still, if I were making decisions for this club, I would not touch Marcus Rashford.
Okay, but they have. Mario Suarez was saying that it's a better option in this aspect than Nico Williams because he can play as a number 9 and on the left. Something in that for you?
Given the choice between the two, it's Nico Williams all day, every single day. We know what Nico Williams can do in Spanish football. I think he's a proven quantity, whereas we've had flashes from Marcus Rashford. Those flashes were a few years ago, and ever since that, there's been no real consistency. Now, to Ali's point, maybe Marcus Rashford all of a sudden wakes up in Barcelona and realizes, I really am drinking in last chance saloon here. If this doesn't work out for me, there goes the opportunities to play big club football again, because I don't think anybody touches him. Never mind getting the kind of wages that he continues to command. And if he does, and he rediscovers that form that we saw post the World Cup in 2022, then Barcelona benefits. As we said, I still don't think Marcus Rashford starts, to Ali's point. I agree. He does give Hansi Flick an option if he wants to rotate, if he wants to rest players, whatever, cover for injuries, whatever it may be. But as of right now, he is not guaranteed to be in that starting 11. It gives Flick options. If Rashford gets a chance, surely he's got to know he has to take it.
Look, I think if you're Hansi Flick and you're Barcelona, you're probably thinking, I'm going to get about 3 or 4 really good months out of Marcus Rashford. This is what I think I can get from him. And if indeed I get really good 3-4 months out of him, maybe that elevates him as a player, elevates his feelings, elevates, I don't know, self-esteem. I have no idea. With Marcus Rashford, we have no idea. This is a shot in the dark if you're Barcelona, but it's a shot in the dark that if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't work, what's the worst thing that can happen? He's just going to sit on the bench. Now, some would argue, is he going to influence some of the younger guys in that team? I don't know that that's quite the case. And if Hansi Flick feels that that's a problem, he'll put him to the side. So there's a lot to gain here if you're Barcelona, so long as Marcus Rashford finds that level of play. And I know it's going to be a short period of time because we know this from Marcus Rashford. We know that it won't be for the next couple of years that this is going to work out. This is going to be for a short period of time. And if it is for a short period of time and he's productive, then Barcelona wins.
Would Marcus Rashford still be a Barcelona player if they weren't in the financial situation they are, Sid?
Well, look, I mean, you know, the name that came up just then was Nico Williams. And we know, of course, that there are a number of elements to kind of factor into the equation when you talk about why Nico Williams didn't eventually go to Barcelona. But fundamentally, it came down to an inability of Barcelona to guarantee to him that they would get him registered. So if your starting point is, if there's no financial difficulties at all at Barcelona, I think we probably have to distinguish between financial difficulties in terms of them actually doing the things they want to do and financial difficulties in terms of the regulations in financial fair play. If none of those exist, does Rashford turn up? No, because Nico Williams has already turned up. So that's just not the case. Now, at the end of this season, and in terms of that option to buy Marcus Rashford, that I think will depend very heavily on what he does this year, but also it will depend on what position Barcelona believe they're in financially. So I think, to speak to Ali's point about what's the worst that can possibly happen, the worst that can possibly happen, I suppose, is that he doesn't have much of an impact, and at the end of the year, Barcelona say to Manchester United, here you go, here's Rashford back. And so in that sense, this is a deal that, yes, it's true they've got to take on his salary. And it's true that his salary is quite large. And it's true that right now they can't confront that financially. But I think by the end of August they will be able to. And so in a way, there's not a huge amount for them to lose. They get a versatile player who plays in all of the front positions in theory. They get someone who allows them to rotate some of the other players. And in particular, Robert Lewandowski, who you wonder about his capacity to continue scoring goals all season, another year on. And so I think that's quite important. And then I think as well that optimism that Ali was talking about, that idea that there's a big part of Marcus Rashford, that this is about offering him a fresh start, offering him, if you like, a kind of an emotional or a psychological clean slate and a different type of football. And it's a wonderful opportunity for him. And I personally would really like to see him do really well. And I'd really like to see a glimpse of the Marcus Rashford we saw from a couple of years ago. And I just wonder if this is actually the right environment for him. So yeah, without the financial problems, he might not be there, but maybe he realises that as well, and maybe that is the thing that says, okay, this is it. This is the moment to really, really make the most of it. One other brief point. Ali mentioned the toxicity. I suppose this is where I, as a journalist, hold up my hand on behalf of the industry that I work in and say quite a lot of the toxic noise around Rashford is the fault of people like me, or is the fault of our industry. And I wonder if there might be a bit of him that thinks, you know what, I want out of there. And I want to be in a different environment where I can feel more at ease and hopefully perform to a higher level.
Yep, I'm already waiting for Martin Einstein's Bicycle Diaries with Marcus Rashford. We're hoping for that one coming up this season.
Will he admit that he was also part of the toxicity or no?
I don't know if he will.
Okay.
But fair play and props to Sid
professional,
for that.
Sid
Professional, kind, nice.
Responsibility.
No doubt we'll have a nice interview laid out for him with Marcus Rashford this season, now that he has been so kind. It is Federico Valverde's birthday today. He is 27 years old.
People just can't keep up. And then if you add to that the fact that he can finish a chance from distance in the manner in which he did there, and then you add to the fact that he has a never-stopping engine, and he comes and he goes and he comes and he goes and he can play there and he can play there, and he's always playing at a level of 7, 8, 9, 10 all the time. He is, in my estimation, others may disagree, but to me, he's the most important player for Real Madrid.
Yeah, it's understandable, Sid, why Ale would say something like that with everything that Federico Valverde has brought Real Madrid.
Yes, I think that's true. There's a couple of very quick points to pick up on. Number one, does Ali's grandmother genuinely hang her washing line from the top of a goalpost? Is that what she does? Number two is of course...
Side netting, more space, yes,
side net. Is that what it is? Okay. I'm disappointed that Fede Valverde's greatest ever shot wasn't in that list, which of course is when he belted one away at Rayo Vallecano. It flew over the bar, over the wall behind the goal, and straight into someone's living room. I promise you, I'm not making that up. Straight into someone's living room. Look it up on YouTube. It's the most brilliant shot you'll ever see. And then to pick up finally on the question you actually asked me, you know, now that I've finished being a smarty pants. I think that the importance of Valverde is precisely that versatility. I think it's precisely that commitment. It's the willingness to do the work that enables others to play their way. Carlo Ancelotti described him as the most important player in the team. In fact, Ancelotti said that if there's one thing he lacks, it's sometimes a touch of arrogance. That he's kind of too busy helping everybody else out, that he doesn't always benefit, if you like, from his own game. Now, I think one thing is true, and this is where Real Madrid maybe have a slight problem, is that Madrid are trying to find that positional deep midfielder that controls the game from that deep position. And that's maybe the one and only thing that you could ask of a midfielder that Fede Valverde doesn't have. He has everything else except maybe that kind of tempo-controlling part of the game. But I agree with you. I think right now he's the most important player in the Madrid midfield because he's the one that, in the whole team perhaps, because he's the one that allows everyone else to do the game the way they want to do it.
And Ian, you must have called a few of those goals. What are your thoughts on this player?
I called a couple of them, not the one that went into that living room. I like the sound of that. Did he end up autographing that ball? I hope so, for the people who were living there. But fantastic player, isn't he, Valverde? I mean, he was vital a couple of seasons ago when Kroos and Modric was still in the team because he was the legs and the energy in that midfield. I mean, the pity really this past season was that quite often in the big games, they have to switch him out of the midfield to play it right back because they had problems in that position. But, yeah, I wouldn't disagree. Vital player for Real.
Yes, happy birthday, Fede Valverde. Looking forward to seeing what he will be offering Real Madrid next season. You can watch all of those games in La Liga. Thank you so much, Sid, for joining us. Next season is on the way, just around the corner. Mallorca against Barcelona, kicking things off for the defending champions. Real Madrid playing on the Tuesday against Osasuna. All of these games available in English and in Spanish on ESPN+. England got a 2-1 win against Italy in the semi to secure a comeback victory in extra time. Chloe Kelly ended up bundling over a penalty that was initially saved after Adjuman had equalised in regular time. Italy denied, England march on. Beth Lindop is with us now to tell us more about this. Let's take a little look at the watch party first, though.
Surprised you're not there, Shaq.
What?
He is Beth. Beth, thanks so much for joining us. England have scraped through again.
They have, yeah. They never do it the easy way, do they? It's been a dramatic week for them. They obviously scraped past Sweden in the quarterfinals on penalties, and then tonight we're seconds away from going out in normal time, and then it was in the 119th minute in extra time that they managed to get the winner from the penalty spot. So yeah, it was another tense night, another night where England weren't quite at the best, but ultimately another night where England found a way to win.
Lovely stuff. Yes, we've been joined by Ali Krieger in the studio. In the meantime, we'll be hearing from Ali in just a moment. But I do want to also mention, Beth, once again, here's Ali. Chloe Kelly coming up clutch for England.
Yeah, you can always rely on her, can't you, in those big moments for England? And I think sort of a big part of that is her temperament. With Chloe Kelly, you always feel like she's going to keep her head in a decisive moment. And, you know, she misses a penalty there, or rather it's saved by Giuliani, but she doesn't flap. She's right on the spot to bundle it in. And yeah, with Chloe Kelly, we know obviously how decisive she was at the previous tournament back in 2022, scored the winning goal for England in the final. So yeah, big player, big game player, and still very much England's super sub.
Ali Krieger, thank you so much for joining us. I know obviously you've been keeping up to date with what's gone on. You've been travelling in today as you've been here in that game, but England showing the nerve to come back here and book their spot in the final.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised actually. I don't think they played their best football. They came out a bit average. Italy was defensively organized. They were super connected. So I was a bit surprised that they ended up coming back in the end. And yeah, they deservingly so. I think the substitutions were made maybe a tad bit late, but like you saw, Chloe Kelly coming in, Agaya Mayang coming in and scoring that rebound goal to tie it and to go into the extra time. So I think the penalty was a bit soft, in my opinion. But
controversy.
But you know, Beth Mead had done her job and got the foul, and they were able to come back and solidify it with that really healthy, strong mentality that they've shown in years past. So this will be the third final that they've been in, and hopefully it'll be a good one either against Germany or Spain.
Yes.
Did you notice how the English host did not ask about whether the penalty was a penalty or not?
Yeah. Just glossed over that.
We're not going to talk about that.
Beth, was it soft?
Yeah, it was. Taking my England hat off, it was a little bit soft. But I think, to be fair, I think Italy had, as they should do, because, you know, they put in a defensive masterclass really, but they had been using some time-wasting dark arts for most of the game. So I don't really blame Beth Mead for going down there. The defender gave her the opportunity to do that, and she did. And then ultimately it was the referee's call. So yeah, but it was a little bit soft, I'll admit that.
Oh, Ali, that's got to be heartbreak for Italy, though. They were massive underdogs. They were almost there, and here they are. They're out.
Yeah, I mean, they should still be super proud. Getting into a semifinal, and I don't think a lot of people watching, fans and supporters, even organizations and players thought that they could get to this position. So it's been excellent to see them, and they're going to change women's football in their country now moving forward forever.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
All right, Kay, I don't believe any of it. The treatment that you just had of Italy there was like, bless their heart. Bless
Just wait till she gets home. She's just warming up.
Listen, if you're out, you're not going to get talked about tonight. It was England who won tonight against Italy. But obviously, as Ali mentioned, in the final it will be Spain or Germany. That is the other semi-final. That's what we're looking out for. Now, what are you expecting from this one, Beth?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. It's a real sort of mouth-watering tie. Spain, obviously, the overwhelming favourites going into that one as world champions. But Germany totally defied the odds to make it through into the semi-finals, beating France. They were down a player for nearly 100 minutes, and they found a way to win. And when you have moments like that in a tournament, you maybe start to think that this could be your time, this could be your year. We know what pedigree Germany have at this level, so I certainly wouldn't write them off. But I think you've got to say whoever England end up facing in the final, they've got to perform better than they did tonight. I completely agree with Ali. England were poor as they were for a large portion of the game against Sweden in the quarterfinals. So either way, they need to up their game going into the final. But yeah, tomorrow's game should be a great watch.
Absolutely. Who have you got winning that one, Ali?
Spain. There's some players who were, obviously disqualified for this match or suspended for this match, and then they've had injuries. And so I think Spain has just been playing brilliant football. They've been just this possession-oriented style. They're very tactical, skillful. Putellas and Bonmati are just playing out of this world. And so Germany has an uphill battle. If Berger can play the way she did against France and the way that they came back with that mentality, okay, so be it, and it'll keep them in it. But overall, I think Spain will take it.
And then, if it is England and Spain in the final, we've seen the grit from England. Yeah. We know they're defending champions. However, we've all seen Spain play.
English as well. Let's remember, our host is English.
Don't do it.
I lived in Spain for a long time, so...
Yeah, all right.
Who's going to win? And why is it England?
because I'm next to you today. We're too close. So I would say, no, I honestly think England have to step up if they want to win. They haven't been playing to their potential, and Spain is just way too good. The way that they've been performing this entire tournament, they've been just smashing teams and creating so many opportunities, and they aren't predictable, and it's just really enjoyable to watch. England, the way that they've had to kind of come back at the end of games is just not going to be good enough in a final. So they have to go back to the drawing board and sort a few things out and figure out the personnel that they could play in the final, and then they might have.
Okay, we can still be friends, Ali. We can still be friends. Beth, if it is England-Spain, can you be positive for England or not?
Well, I can try. I think I would still probably go with Spain, I've got to say. But I think the one thing you would say is that England have been the favourites in the last two games, and I think that hasn't helped them actually. I think they've come out and they've been a bit lethargic at times, whereas I think maybe going into it as the underdogs might actually help them a little bit. So yeah, we will see. But Spain it would be by far the toughest test they've faced so far.
Yes, it's hard to argue. Guys, even though you're laughing at me.
We're not putting up an argument. You seem to be
arguing.
I know you're not,
totally fine with it.
Thank you so much for being with us, Beth. And Ali, thank you so much for joining us as well. Obviously, Ali, you'll always be able to catch on Football W. Make sure to do that on ESPN+. And you can do that tonight. You will be with Christina Alexander, looking back on everything that went down today in the Women's Euros and looking ahead to that game between Spain and Germany. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Ian Dark is joining us. Hey. Ali Moreno is back with us. Refreshed, revitalised, raring to go.
Well rested.
And Shaka's still here.
I'm so well rested.
Left, right,
I'm plugging away. Somebody's got to keep showing up.
I'll tell you that I made a rookie mistake during my vacation. It must have been either the first or second day. We're out at the beach, right? And I'm getting the lotion on, skin protectant and all these things, taking care of myself, the aging man that I am. But it's hard to figure out that, not hard. And every time I look at myself in the mirror, I know that I'm losing hair, right? And it ain't coming back. But I didn't put two and two together while I was at the beach. And so I put lotion everywhere. Forgot to put it on my head.
Ah, boy.
It's a rookie mistake, but and so that night, my head was on fire, man.
Well, I'm not sure it's a rookie. Most rookies have the hair, so it's not in theory a rookie mistake.
You see what I'm saying?
A bald rookie.
Yes, a balding rookie. A balding rookie mistake.
You couldn't just let it go.
No, I couldn't.
It was a balding rookie mistake, and I got no sympathy also from my wife, who I thought would be like, he's like, you didn't put anything on your head? Are you crazy? What are you trying to do to yourself? So the solution was, I was beyond the point of putting lotion at that point. Right. I had a bucket hat the rest of the time. Bucket hat covering my whole head. Oh, boy. And I've been peeling basically for the last 2 or 3 days, which has been amazing.
If the roles were reversed, would you have had sympathy for your significant other?
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
It comes natural to me to find sympathy and empathy, especially with my beautiful wife. Love you, babe. Love you.
I have heard it all.
What was that all about? Why did you shake your head?
She doesn't believe you.
I want a picture of Ali in the bucket hat. It is the Oasis are making a comeback.
You can go to. I don't have the bucket hat. No, Melissa took all the pictures.
Ian Dark, start, bench or drop the 25-26 Premier League Golden Boot edition. Gyokeres, Haaland or Salah?
Oh, you've got to put Haaland top of that list, Salah second. Because Gyokeres, we don't know, do we? But, you know, Arsenal hope he's a big hit for them. But I think that would be my order in the middle of the summer. Where was that holiday, by the way, Ali? Where were you?
Oh, it was in Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Oh,
yes.
Beautiful.
Yep, a little Savannah action as well.
A little Savannah as well with the Ghost Adventure Tour, one of those nights in Savannah. We got locked up in a house looking for ghosts. That was something.
That's where you lost me. That's where you lost me.
They called a vacation. Ian, Marcus Rashford is the first English player to sign for Barcelona since Gary Lineker. Why have so few English players ever made the move?
That's interesting, isn't it? Because Real Madrid have had quite a few, haven't they, down the years? Mikel Owen and Steve McManaman, obviously, and David Beckham, etc., etc. Yeah, I don't know why Barcelona. Maybe it's something to do with the Catalonia thing, but it's not stopping them now, is it?
No, it isn't.
You know, Ian forgot Maka,
I know.
Right? Steve McManaman, the guy that you work with.
In the poetry booth with on a
Steve
regular
McManaman.
basis, talking about La Liga, him.
Steve McManaman.
He only won the Champions League with them, but whatever. Yeah.
His name is Steve McManaman.
I remember now. Yeah. Crazy guy.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't need to put sun cream on his head.
No. He's got a fair old bonnet.
Okay, ready?
I do not.
Ale,
yes.
With Caicedo, Pacho, Ordonez, Hincapié, Payet, Sarmiento and Plata all 25 and under, can we say that Ecuador will have a real golden generation by 2030?
It's a lot of talent. And Ecuador has been really good in South America now for a few years. And let's not forget that they started the World Cup qualifying cycle with 3 points deducted because of whatever violation of having a player registered that should not have been playing for Ecuador. And that was never a point of discussion. It's not like, oh, we're going to need those 3 points in the end to make it to the World Cup. No. They just got on to winning games. And in order to win games in South America with the consistency that they did over the course of the World Cup qualifying cycle, you have to be a really good team. They're not short on talent, and of course these names are part of it. What they have now that perhaps they didn't have before is a player like, say, Sarmiento, for example, or Plata, that their dribbling skill can manufacture a goal and put Ecuador in a position in which they can actually outscore other teams. So much of their struggle when they go into like a World Cup competition or competition of that level is their inability to score. And I think guys like Sarmiento and Plata give them a better chance to do so.
Okay. For all, start, bench or drop, hair edition.
Oh boy.
Right?
Valderrama's curls.
Yeah.
R9's triangle at the World Cup, remember? Yeah, there it is.
Yes.
And Roberto Baggio's ponytail.
Yes.
You got to drop the ponytail.
Yeah.
You all know I have a thing with ponytails. On men. We just add that there quickly.
Okay. Thank you, Shaq.
No problem.
All right.
So I'll. You have to start Valderrama.
Okay.
I really don't know what to make of that triangle.
But that triangle is iconic.
Yeah, no, it's iconic because of who it is.
Yes.
Let's be honest, nobody else is pulling that triangle off.
Nobody is, but people were doing something like that to their hair because it was Ronaldo.
And very wrongly so. They were doing something to their hair. Very wrongly so. Start Valderrama, bench the triangle just by default.
Is it a triangle?
Well, it's some.
You know what we could do? We could take that from Ronaldo's hair and put it on the front of my head and it would be great.
Would it?
Well, I think so. Well, no, I think it would. See, it's a missing piece. It's Gyokeres. We don't know if it's gonna work, but it could. And if it does, it would be great.
Shag, what bet would you have to lose to get to do the R9?
What bet? Oh God.
I can do the reverse R9.
I don't know. I tell you what, if both West Ham and Newcastle finish in Champions League spots, I'm going to get a triangle.
Okay, clip it up.
Yep.
Clip it up.
Wow.
What were you going to say, Ian, about these lovely hairstyles?
Well, I was going to think that Ali should have had the Carlos Valderrama cut in Hilton Head, and that would have solved him all the problems. I mean, I think as a commentator that every player should have a distinctive hairstyle because just to help us identify. Do you remember when Romania turned out for that game and every one of them had gone bleach blonde?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
Ian, how would you rate these hairstyles? Start, bench, or drop?
I'm definitely keeping Valderrama. I think I'm going to drop Ronaldo. And, he's the divine ponytail, isn't he? Roberto Baggio. You can't do anything horrible to him.
I'm not a fan of ponytails. I'm really not.
It was Baggio.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
That's all right. I agree with you. I drop him.
Yeah, I'm dropping.
He gone.
All right.
Yeah.
For the panel, when a club wants to force a player out, they resort to all sorts of devious tactics, like freezing them out, limiting their game time, etc., and nobody says anything. So why does it become a problem when players try to force a move out by going on strike?
First of all, I sympathise. I understand when players and there are ways to force those moves out, force those moves through. But and while clubs certainly use rules to their advantage and use the media to their advantage against players, the truth is the players are still getting paid. So even when they're trying to force them out and as I say, using the media against them and whatever else it may be, the players are still getting paid. When the player goes on strike, more times than not, he's still getting at least a portion of those wages. I guess the club can fine him, but again, as players, you can manage that, especially in today's world where you earn so much that it doesn't matter to you in the slightest if 2 weeks' wages are docked. So that's always kind of frowned upon more than when the tables are turned and it's the club kind of pushing you out because you're still getting paid.
I'll answer that question by referring back to a story that I heard not too long ago from Oscar Ruggeri, Argentina international, who was at Real Madrid at the time and had been their best defender the year before. They changed manager, Radomir Antic came as the new manager and basically did not have Ruggeri in the plans. And so, but he's under contract. And to Shaka's point, he needs to show up so that he continues to get paid. Antic did not want him anywhere around the team. But as he said, no, I'm under contract and it is my job to be here. Well, but I don't want you to train. Okay. So he tells the story that he would bring a beach chair, right? Take his shirt off, roll up his shorts, and actually sit in the middle of the field, practice field, and just sunbathe. But he was there. Because legally speaking, he was there. If the coach was not using him, so be it. Until the team pays me out, I'm going to continue to show up. So there you go. And he probably, maybe he was getting lotion. Yeah. Maybe he did not.
Did he have to put it in?
No, because he was all right. He was all right.
He was all right. He wasn't okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Ale, should Messi participate in the All-Star game or should he get rest?
First of all, he's going to participate. That's first and foremost. And it's going to be probably a word that Shaka has used in the past in the show. It's going to be farcical. because it's probably going to be a 10, 15-minute presentation, if you will, just to say that he did play, he did participate. And the responsibility, some are going to say that it's on Messi to continue to fly the flag for MLS. it's not really his responsibility. He gets selected for the All-Star game, and then everybody assumes that, well, because you get selected, they have this image of what an All-Star game is because of what people think the All-Star game should be here in this country. And culturally speaking, then your best player should be out there. It's a completely different game. And so he's going to go out there. He'll play for 15, 20 minutes, then they're going to take him off, and he's going to be annoyed that he was taken off because then why did I make this trip? Why am I here? The truth of the matter is that Inter Miami does not want Lionel Messi playing in this game. MLS does, and MLS will have him play. He'll participate, but it will be ceremonially, and that's about it.
Here's the point that Jose was making on Football Americas last night. Lionel Messi, even at 38 years old, is kind of like a kid sometimes.
Yeah.
In that he's like, I'm here, I'm playing.
Yes.
Just leave. I'm going to play. And then Lionel Messi also has, well, let me not say Lionel Messi has. The Mexico fans have some strange kind of hate relationship with Lionel Messi that I simply do not understand. You'll have to ask somebody else. So you just wonder if that kind of also eggs Lionel Messi on to kind of be out there to make a point, as he did play with Inter Miami. If he scores, remonstrate with the fans. He's just that kind of player. You feel that he looks forward to doing things like that.
However, the worst thing that could happen is that in whatever amount of time he plays, he gets injured.
Yeah.
And then everything comes crumbling down. Because this league, whether we like it or not, with Lionel Messi on it, everything is built around him. Everything. In fact, the questions are built around Lionel Messi. It's why we talk about MLS. It's because of Lionel Messi. And so if the story becomes your superstar, the flag bearer, the image of the league gets injured in an exhibition match, that's a problem.
Shaka, why are top talents rejecting Newcastle?
Who rejected Newcastle?
Wow.
Ekitike.
Top talent.
Who's on your
For Liverpool, you understand. Who else?
Apparently Isak wants to move.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
That's what the word is.
No.
Top talent.
Who said that word? You keep telling me that's the word. I haven't heard that word.
Which big stars, which big top talents are they signing?
Don't need to.
Tino Asprilla.
Yeah, he was playing with Asprilla was back in town. You saw that? Tino Asprilla was back in town doing something with Alexander Isak.
The word was that they wanted João Pedro as well.
That's, what word? What word? What word? You keep throwing out these words.
Top talent.
Oh, boy.
I wonder what it is.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't you worry.
Can we get an objective opinion on this from Ian? Because we are never able to get anything from Shaka when it comes to Newcastle.
True. Yeah, Ian, what's going on?
I've been as objective as I always am.
I think Newcastle is a fantastic club to go and play for. The atmosphere up there is out of this world. They're in the Champions League next season. I mean, we don't know what Isak is thinking or whether the Liverpool move will ever come to be. It's just really a bit of a rumour at the moment. And I think Ekitike's gone to Liverpool, so you think Isak is staying at Newcastle. They're going to fight tooth and nail to keep him. And yeah, probably players are going to go to Liverpool with all their history and tradition ahead of Newcastle. But Newcastle's a mighty fine place to play. Look at the players they have got there at the moment. They've got a very, very good team there.
By the way, that's rich. That somebody whose handle is Stretford and Dreams is talking about top talent rejecting Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's Case Bernard account. I'm sure of it.
Not I. Who will finish higher in the Premier League next season, Ian? Arsenal or Manchester City?
Oh, boy.
Oh, goodness me. What is it, July the 22nd?
Yes, 22nd it is.
Oh.
23rd for Sid.
Arsenal.
So that's it? No follow-up?
No further questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ian, for that expertise, cutting-edge analysis.
You're right. That's true.
One word, guys? Well, two if it's City, but...
Manchester City. Go ahead, Shaq.
Arsenal.
We'll remind you all of that. Ale, start.
Yeah, right now.
Ale, start 1, bench 1, sell 1. Pedri, Vitinha, McAllister.
Oh boy.
Start 1 Pedri, bench 1 Vitinha, sell McAllister. My love for Pedri doesn't go away.
Can you imagine, like, Pedri in any question, start, bench or drop for Ale? It would always just be start.
Yeah.
I've been consistent with my love for Pedri. A couple of moments in which he wasn't available because injuries, then you can't. He's not available for selection. You can't pick him.
We've even had Pedri, Alejandro Jr., and Gregory, and somehow Pedri kept his place. Yeah, Pedri kept his place. He was benching and selling everybody else.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Nobody jumped on the opportunity to buy the other two.
Newcastle?
Why are Gregory and Alejandro rejecting Newcastle? Top talent. Top talent.
All right, thank you for sending in your questions, and thanks to the guys for answering them. Make sure to join us tomorrow here on Extra Time and ESPN FC.
I'm back tomorrow, you know.
Hard work.
Tell you what, it never ends, you know.
Never ends.